Welcome back to Growth Unleashed, the podcast for pet brands that want to grow smarter without relying on paid ads. I'm Matt, the founder of Bubblegum Search.
And I'm Louis, the SEO manager here at Bubblegum. And today we wanted to discuss this kind of developing idea of a zero-click environment in online search. So this isn't exactly new. This is something we've been seeing for the last few years on Google search results. You know, they've been adding features and changing it, and essentially what is happening, as I think it was Rand Fishkin that coined this term.
Yeah, or Amanda from SparkToro, I think it might have been, but
there's fewer clicks flying around online, and it's, you know, worrying a lot of online businesses, and it seems to be a fundamental change to the way that people are searching online.
Yeah, definitely, and especially as AI overviews is here now and has been rolling out as well. And again, to be clear, we're not saying that clicks isn't the goal or clicks aren't what we want, but in 2025, if you don't earn the click, you don't earn the click unless your brand is showing up where your audience is already being influenced. So cool. So today we're going to break down how brands can adapt and thrive in this new search environment.
Before that, though, I think it would be helpful if we defined zero-click search properly, and explained a bit about why online businesses are quite worried about it.
Yeah, cool. I mean, zero-click essentially just means that when someone performs a question or query in the search engine, the answer is being displayed directly there in the search results, and of course they don't have to go on and click onto one of the results, and and that's why it's zero click, because the user's satisfied with whatever it's discovered before that point. We've mentioned like AI overviews, but although that's a big part of what's happening for a while now, the number of featured and number of rich results that are showing up it's just been increasing exponentially. Obviously there's the classics like People Also Ask, there's knowledge panels, local packs, which have obviously been around for some time. There's these product sites, especially if you've got an e-com business. And even AI overviews now is starting to shift towards AI mode as well. So huge changes, some of the biggest changes we've seen in a long time, and that's just in Google, but of course this applies to like where it's been happening. This trend has been going on for a long time in a lot of social channels, where you get penalized if you now put algorithmically you get penalized, because if you put a link in certain posts, everyone knows now that kind of stops your visibility.
They don't want you leaving
leaving their platform. So it all just ties into this zero-click world that we found ourselves in, and so we're big advocates of this zero-click marketing. Essentially, it's kind of like, how do you combat that, and what do you do about it?
It's also not the case that everyone's searching on just Google anymore. We're seeing LLMs like ChatGPT and Perplexity start eating into Google search share. And those are basically designed to keep you on their chat rather than send you out to their sources. They try and hand you the answer right away.
Exactly. It's all of these things have come, to a head, but around the same kind of time, and it's just impacted this kind of new environment that we find ourselves in as well.
Yeah, and just to kind of, I guess, we're using the term zero click. That is quite dramatic. It's not literally zero clicks. I think Rand Fishkin.
So there was a study we did recently, wasn't it? We're in partnership with AccuRanker, where I think it's slightly old data now, but it was like 2024 versus 2023, and that clearly showed like groupings of keywords versus the intent. So it could be informational intent or commercial intent against desktop and mobile. And with this shift that we're seeing in the landscape, that the drop in the click-through rates on average, and I think off the top of my head, it used to be about 30% on mobile for a first position. And just with 1 year passing, with AI overviews in particular coming into play, it dropped to around half of that. I think from memory it was about 16% as well. So so the clicks are down, the click-through rates are down, but as you say, it's not zero.
No,
It's like,
no.
it just means we would,
We're being dramatic.
Yeah.
I think the SEO world is being dramatic.
Yeah, and it's almost like for a long time we were spoilt with that kind of amount of traffic, where click-through rates were so high for top positions. It doesn't mean that not ranking or being in top positions isn't worthy anymore. I mean, it certainly is. It's just across the board, there's less clicks than there once was. That's the summary. But as we'll talk about, there's ways to kind of build brand and build back that kind of otherwise lost visibility and lost clicks.
Yeah, I think in the interest of avoiding kind of complete fear mongering here, it's also fair to mention that again, I think it was Rand Fishkin that did a kind of study on this, and we've seen some of the same results with our clients where, yes, you are seeing clicks drop, fairly considerably from what they were 2 years ago, let's say. But the same trend isn't necessarily happening with revenue. So what you're finding is the customer journey is different now. They don't search and click on the first or second result on Google. They have many different ways of getting the information they want, but ultimately they are still there to buy. So it might just be that you only ever get the final click onto your website where they actually purchase, so you're not seeing all of the traffic from the discovery like you might have previously.
Because again, there's so many touch points on the journey now. Just because traffic's down doesn't mean that revenue can't be up.
Exactly.
Is
exactly
kind of
that.
the bottom line as well. So cool. Okay. So Louis, moving on. Why is this especially relevant for pet brands?
Yeah. So I guess with pet brands, one of the things we really know about their customer base, pet parents, is how important trust is for them.
Yeah.
I think these, AI overview, a lot of the featured snippets and the way that large language models will recommend brands is kind of based on your entity's trust level. So if you, as an example, asked Google's AI mode, what are the best dog food brands in 2025, those top three, the audience is going to place a lot of trust in them. And if you're not there, your competitors certainly are, and they'll be eating up whatever clicks are left out there. So you really, really want to try and focus on being the trusted brand that gets recommended in, featured snippets, in people also ask sections, that even, ChatGPT and Perplexity will recommend when a user asks them.
Yeah, you want to be kind of just
you want to be the
top of
instant
mind.
answer, basically.
Yeah, you want to be top of mind, because even if people don't click right there and then, you're the one that keeps showing up. So you're the one that's going to be the first one that gets Googled, or or you get that direct traffic if not as well. And so you got to build that trust with both Google and AI, and that could be through a range of things. I mean, obviously it's like the on-page assets that you earn. Making sure it's structured, the pages are structured correctly, making sure you've got the correct and relevant schema in place. Backlinks are of a high authority, but again, like we've mentioned before about the branded mentions in relative places as well. But really, ultimately, just being in front of where your audience is already influenced, that's the most crucial thing. So you can have branded mentions kind of anywhere, but it doesn't mean anything unless your audience is actually paying attention to that, to where those are visible. So
I guess this is something that, as an agency, we've been looking at how to perform zero-click marketing better over the last year and a half, and we've come up with a few ideas which I think are really powerful. So I think it'd be quite useful if we we ran through a few of those.
Let's do it. Cool. Okay, so like I just mentioned, I'd look at like the on-page and like the kind of owned media that you have. So it's more kind of simpler stuff like around the structure of your content, to make sure that it's kind of, especially for AI, like making sure it's easily accessible and readable, and also of course for users, clear subheadings, bulleted lists, and in particular like short paragraphs, not just like big walls of text as well. And the other thing as well, I mean, this is something we're doing for our clients, is if you can perform a SERP features audit. So what I mean by that is really it's discovering what features show up for your group of keywords that you're looking to rank for, and then against that, what percentage of those features that you own versus the gaps. And so once you know that, you can then start implementing the types of relevant schema markup to show up in that where those gaps might be. So again, it might be like people also ask. It could be like image packs, especially if it's kind of an e-com site, which is lots of product images.
Yeah.
Wherever relevant, those are kind of, those are the kind of things I would look for as well. And when it comes to schema, there's so many. There's like product, FAQ, how to, review. The list goes on as well. So doing a kind of real kind of SERP gap analysis to start with will kind of then lead you on to like knowing what to implement and what's missing as well.
Yeah, I think, trying to see the positives with the changes that Google has made, one of the big ones for me is in those SERP features, because whereas previously you had maybe, unless you had keyword cannibalization issues, basically, you could only appear on a SERP twice, and one of those you had to pay for. The one upside of this kind of new Google is you do have the ability to be featured in multiple spots. So you could be in the the shopping pack, you could be in the people also ask, and you could be in a local map pack. So that's that's 3 appearances above the fold if you were really getting it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can still be highly visible on a SERP. And it can still provide a lot of value, and that's basically from the trust that the audience is getting from you appearing, that much and being quoted. So I think that's a big bonus. And in terms of making sure that you are more visible when you're trying to do this zero-click marketing, I think the other side of it is just the off-site stuff. Again, just come back to really try and be talked about where your audience is already hanging out. If they like certain YouTubers or Instagrammers, try and be reviewed by them, try and be mentioned on one of their blogs, try and be mentioned in a Reddit forum talking about the best of whatever your product is. I think this kind of helps the search engines choose you to be selected in some of these snippets and things like that, or recommend you in LLMs, that sort of thing.
It's just ultimately is building authority, building that authority, building brand salience as well. So you are top of mind at any point of the user journey as well. And then you do that enough, ultimately then you occupy more mind share as well, obviously relevant to the competitors.
Yeah, so I guess, our conclusion overall is basically, the SERP is packed with more features than ever at the moment. Most users are making decisions before they even visit your site. They're getting all the information they think they need before they even visit your site. So in this zero-click marketing world, you really, really need to make sure you're visible on the SERPs basically before your website ever gets visited.
Yeah, and you can do that with a range of tactics, like we said. Schema, on-page assets, brand building, digital PR, and a whole host of ways to kind of get yourself visible and influence your audience where it matters most as well.
Yeah, and I think those are all really, really strong places to start. Ultimately, we're still seeing developments with Google. We think AI mode might become the default way of searching for a lot of people in the future. So it's just about trying to stay on top of the changes as much as possible and trying to stay as visible as possible.
Cool. So if you want to know if your brand's being considered in the search results, why not book a free authority audit, and we'll show you what's showing up and of course what's not. Thanks, and we hope that that's helped, and we'll catch you next time.